We at Time Shifters hope that you enjoyed this rare and infamous moment that combines a first-rate disaster with genuine historical significance. But now it's time to take a deep breath as we prepare to temporarily reset you. Get your cars to Mars.
Hey everyone, this is Christopher, and I'd like to welcome you to the Time Shifters podcast. On this show, Tom and I dive into movies and TV, mostly in the sci-fi, fantasy, and horror genres, and share our thoughts, our reviews, and we'll definitely go on a few tangents along the way. So let's go ahead and get Tom in here, and let's start talking about stuff. Tom, how you doing?
I want to talk about stuff.
Oh, we got stuff to talk about for sure.
Oh, goody. Otherwise, I am doing well. How about yourself?
Yeah, not too bad. Doing pretty well. Happy to say relatively healthy for a change. No cold or congestion or anything bother me like it has been in the last couple episodes.
No, a lack of snottiness is always a welcome thing.
Absolutely. You been up to anything fun? Watched anything interesting?
Life has been chaotic. Having a 16-year-old in my midst, starting his very first summer job.
Fun times.
Has kept things kind of busy, plus work has had me traveling a little bit, learning about the wonderful world of AI. And I dare you to prove whether or not you're talking to an AI right now. But no, so I haven't had a whole lot of time for TV and movies lately.
No, understood. I've been catching a couple things. One thing of note that I wanted to bring up, only because this film, which was called Cyborg X from 2016.
Sounds fascinating.
This was like a roller coaster of opinions as I was watching this film. Because before I started it with a title called Cyborg X, it's like, okay, this is going to just be stupid, cheesy, made for sci-fi type of thing.
Oh, absolutely.
That's what I'm in the mood for. Let's give it a watch. Push play. The first 10-ish, including the credits, and the first 10 minutes of the film started having me going, oh, wait a minute. This might be a diamond in the rough, because the credits are just sort of like interspersed with like fake news broadcasts about a weapon that no one knew existed that the government had worked on, and there's rumors that it had turned on them and started killing people, and it's talking about how it's some sort of AI technology that can usurp and be attached to the victims and usurp their bodies and this and that, and how it's turning on the creators. I'm like, okay. And then the news bulletin starts like, we're getting reports that our signal isn't getting out all the time. We're fading it out, like they're going to be like attacked soon and all this stuff. And then of course, the news programs stop and you see a lone character zooming across like a wasteland in some sort of all-terrain vehicle, and they went to the effort of doing some actually fairly decent CGI additions to the landscape. So there's like craters, burned out plains, things like that to make it like, I'm like, okay.
This is a war zone.
Yeah, this is a war zone. This is supposed to be like a year later after whatever happened. Like, all right, you're actually building a world that I'm interested in.
Yeah.
This is good. And then the next 10 minutes or so, it gets into it, and then it starts falling apart. And then it comes back to being the cheesy, corny film that I was kind of expecting in the beginning. Which I'm like, well, that's what I was expecting, but you kind of got my hopes up with the beginning of this film, so now I'm kind of disappointed.
Nothing like settling in for B crap, getting something better, and then back to the B crap.
Yeah, it's exactly what happened. And the rest of the film was watchable. It was all right. Didn't star anyone of note other than a small part by Danny Trejo, which people of some sci-fi and horror, will know who I'm talking about there.
Know exactly who Danny is.
Yeah, and he plays the kind of character you expect Danny Trejo to play.
Machete.
Pretty much. I think his name in this is a Machine Gun. So, yeah. So exactly what you expect there. And yeah, and it's just the rest of the film is, it's got these cyborgs that have been taken over by this technology, and sometimes they're unstoppable, sometimes they're not. It just depends on whether the plot demands one or the other.
Depends on who's standing in front of it and when.
Pretty much exactly that. It does kind of subvert some expectations here and there, and other times it's like, yeah, I saw that coming. So, like I said, it was a bit of a roller coaster. Would I recommend it? I'd recommend the first 15 minutes.
And then doze off or something and remember it fondly.
Precisely. Other than that, I don't know what it was that re-sparked, I guess, my interest. But I decided to bring home the series of The Monkees.
Okay.
Television show. Yeah. Brought that home from the library on DVD. I remember watching it when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Fully expecting to tune into this thing and just find it stupid and boring.
Right.
This can't be as good as I remember. I remember having a ball with it when I was a kid. It can't be that fun. I am happy to say that 4 episodes in anyway, my wife and I are watching this. It's a blast. It is corny. It is stupid. It's cheesy.
Yeah, it's campy mess, but...
Yeah, and it's very much 1960s Monkees. Drugs were probably involved in some of the writing kind of and acting.
Set design.
Yeah. But it's fun. I'm very happy that I am enjoying these, and I was like I said, I was really expecting them to just not hold up well, and instead they are a good deal of fun.
No, that's awesome. Yeah, I've thought about that once in a while. I haven't seen that in years, so I was always curious how that would hold up.
And it's also nice that this is back in the days when your shows could be 25 minutes. Right. So you're in and out quick.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and when you're watching on DVD and you don't, even on avoiding the ads on streaming services, that's just nice.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, good times. But that's all I've been up to.
I would like to mention, at least last night, my son has wanted to catch up on... He hasn't seen most of Strange New Worlds, and since it's due out, the third season's due out here in a couple of weeks. We've been catching up, and we got to the penultimate episode for second season last night, which is the musical episode.
Nice.
And I even let him know. I said, okay, just so you know in advance, this is a musical episode. Not that he has any problems with musicals, but I said, what's truly endearing about this episode is they managed to make there be a reason for it to be a musical. And I think they kind of pulled it off. and he watched it, and it was funny watching his face, because he's like, this is good.
Yeah, my wife and I were talking about doing the same thing, picking up. She came in somewhere in season 2, but she hadn't seen anything of season 1. Yeah. So we were talking about going back and starting over. We just haven't had the opportunity to jump in, but I'm looking forward to that. And I'm thinking when it comes to the musical episode, you know what? Nope, that was in season 2. She has seen that one. I was going to say I wasn't going to warn her, but nope, I'm pretty sure she saw that one. So.
The thing that we were enjoying while we watched it, that I remember distinctly from the first time I saw it, it's clear where sometimes, I believe all the actors recorded themselves singing, but there's sometimes where it looks like that was recorded and they're now lip syncing it in the scene.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And then there are some where maybe they aren't, because the thing I was really mystified, it's already a little unnerving watching Spock sing. But Ethan Peck is actually a really damn good singer. And so it was pleasantly surprising to watch him sing, especially really his final solo song, which I believe I'm just going to call it X, because it's right after Christine has very publicly dumped him for this assignment that she's about to take, and his tone and the way they handled it, the whole solo was just amazing. And watching my son sit there going, "Oh my God, this is good," and then losing his mind when there's all of a sudden a Klingon.
I was gonna say my favorite part is the Klingon is the K-pop band.
Yeah, right down to the captain's chair slides back, and there's a full-on dance number going on the bridge of the ship. Oh my God, this is amazing. So,
yeah, looking forward to diving back in and rewatching those.
We were even also really kind of enjoying, at least second season did it a lot. It was basically, you'd get kind of a fun, goofy, one-off kind of one, and then we go into something a little heavier. And this was no different, because literally the musical one is the second to last, so the next episode goes right into the brutal Gorn episode that is the cliffhanger going into the next season. So yeah, always a good time. And then I'm using this as a nice little thing. I'm both heartened and saddened that they've more or less announced that they'll go 1.5 more seasons.
Yeah, a short season 5 will be the end of Strange New Worlds.
Right, and then as I understand it from other things that I have dug into, Paramount is looking to sell off the IP.
Really?
Yeah.
That's huge.
Yeah, and I'd have to think...
I can't believe that.
Apparently it has something to do with work they're doing with Skydance and all of this.
But Star Trek has been such a cash cow for Paramount for decades.
Yeah, and I'd like to think that maybe that there's more rumor to that than anything, but I've seen more than one thing about that, and honestly, you might as well fold Paramount if you lose Star Trek.
I cannot believe that. That
it's
doesn't make sense to me.
Paramount.
You're right. I don't understand that at all. Yeah. Sorry. I think that is definitely rumor built on rumor.
Perhaps, and I'd like to keep it that way. And if anyone knows legitimately, please share. But that would be stunning news to see Paramount sell off Star Trek. But
yeah.
But there's been a definite slowing of properties, and of course after that disastrous Section 31 thing.
Yeah, well, that's not always a bad thing to slow down, pump the brakes a little bit on something. I think, Marvel could certainly take a lesson. Yeah, no,
they need to dig deep and maybe take a break for a little bit. But then Disney's running it. Actually, once upon a time, I even heard that they were considering selling it to Disney. That would be rough.
That's when you get the Mickey Mouse Marvel crossover cartoons and...
Oh, God. As is, I'd still welcome, since IDW did all those crossover issues for Star Trek with some of the other properties on the comic book front, Doctor Who Star Trek wouldn't necessarily be a bad way to go, if done correctly.
I've read some of those comics, so yeah.
I have the Transformers Star Trek, but I don't know that I need to see a transforming Enterprise.
No, I definitely do not.
that would go weird.
All right, well, with that, let's go ahead and take a break, especially just to kind of let people in under the hood. Hopefully you haven't noticed, but we are dealing with some weather issues. So we will don't want to tempt fate any more than we have to, so we're going to try to move this right along. We're going to take a break here and listen to a promo for another podcast. And then when we get back, we're going to talk about 2022's Deus.
C-3PO,
Loki,
Mace Windu,
Dr. Bruce Banner,
Captain Rex,
Venom,
Princess Leia,
Jean Grey,
Darth Maul,
Nick Fury,
Grand Moff Tarkin,
Captain America,
Lando Calrissian,
Cyclops.
What do all these characters have in common?
Count Dooku. Well, two of them were played by Samuel L. Jackson.
A couple of them were played by Hammer Films veterans Peter Cushing and Christopher Lee.
Come on, guys. You know this.
Well, of course we do, Jessica. Just like Mickey Mouse and Captain Jack Sparrow, they're all now Disney characters. Hello, I'm Tracy of the Disney Indiana podcast, and my co-host Scott and I enjoy talking about all aspects of the House of Mouse, and that includes their newest properties, Marvel and LucasArts.
We also talk about Disney resorts, the cruise line, theme parks, and whatever else Mickey has to offer.
Which includes movies, Imagineering, video games, and collectibles. You'll never know what we'll decide to talk about.
So check us out at www.disneyindiana.com or do a search for the Disney Indiana podcast on iTunes, because now we've got a lot more to talk about.
And don't forget about those other quote-unquote Disney characters like, well, Sully,
Fozzie Bear,
Buzz Lightyear,
Link Hogthrob,
Doug,
Janice,
Merida,
Pepe,
Bruce,
Ralph the Dog,
Wally,
Dr.
The Disney
Bunsen
Indiana
Honeydew.
podcast. Even after 5 years, we're still miles away from the nearest Main Street, USA.
New Zealand.
We're not listed on the map, but you can join us at www.disneyindiana.com.
Deus was written and directed by Steve Stone and stars Claudia Black, Phil Davis, and David O'Hara. Earth is on the brink of environmental collapse. 20 billion people try to survive on what little land is still habitable. While the planet struggles, a mysterious sphere appears in orbit around Mars, and a 6-person crew is sent to investigate. As they approach the object, it begins to transmit a message, a single word, repeated endlessly in all Earth languages: Deus. The message appears to affect some of the crew mentally. A blogger sent along to report back to Earth begins to have a mental breakdown, and Flight Officer Carla Gray begins to hear the voices of her recently deceased mother and child. Gray and 2 other astronauts land on the sphere and discover a strange tower as the source of the transmission. Gray enters the tower and is struck with visions of her family. She loses consciousness and awakes back on board the ship to discover that similar towers have appeared on Earth and millions of people are entering the portal believing that they will find heaven on the other side. Gray is determined to discover the truth about the sphere, the towers, and what lies beyond. But is that truth just the beginning of a greater lie? This film has less to do with Mars than even Star Crystal, so apologies. It doesn't quite meet the theme. We don't even land on Mars on this one.
Nope, barely a backdrop.
But we're still in orbit of Mars for a little while anyway, so you can see it in the film. I guess it counts.
And that's as much as Mars features. It has no point in being in there.
In the top half of the show, we talked about me watching Cyborg X and suggesting that people watch the first 15 minutes and then doze off and think you watched the whole film. Apparently, sometime in 2022, that's exactly what I did with this film.
Oh, really?
Apparently tried to watch this one once before, and due to my brief review of it on my Facebook, where I often post that I have watched a film, I don't think I actually watched the whole thing, or thought I did, and thought it was a very different film.
Well, interestingly enough, you probably did okay dozing off.
There is plenty of moments to do that in this film, unfortunately.
Yeah, and this is such an odd mix of things in this film. It is part Event Horizon. It is... the one thing... It is part not the entirety of the Marvel films, but it's the Thanos conundrum. The notion of, I have a way to solve the problem, but if you gave it 5 seconds more thought, you could do it a different way.
There's so many themes brought up in this film that I really like.
Yeah.
Whether or not they really carried out those themes in a cohesive and good manner, that I think is up for debate.
Yeah, and it was funny. I was prepared right away because it already fell into some of the tropes that drive me crazy when you have long space missions. The whole notion of, is the crew that you actually got for this suitable for the task at hand? Because you had literally very one-dimensional characters. There's the guy that's going to go absolutely bat-crap crazy right away. You've got your fluff people. You've got your overly cynical scientist people. You got your militant captain person. And you got the quasi-security dude that you're not entirely sure what his direction is. You can name 1,000 movies and get all of those characters all in them every single time.
No, I agree. Yeah, there's definitely... You can pick out the people that are there only to die. Mm-hmm. That's their role in this film.
I literally, red shirts. sea of red shirts.
There's some ideas that play out early in the film when the signal is first sent and the blogger, Sai, starts going crazy. But why did he go crazy?
Right.
Did the signal actually bother him? Was it just coincidence that he was mentally unhinged? Was he part of the big plan? It doesn't make much sense. All it does is give everybody something to do for about 20 minutes.
Right, and gets you a little bit of a horror element where the rest of it is going to be, unfortunately, fairly dull. And you have to get to this is an entire corporate engagement. This is not humanity's search for whatever it is that's out there. This is entirely corporate funded. When we get to the quote-unquote climax of the film, everything's a setup. So does he have a reason to go crazy? You can almost answer that with he was probably handpicked to go crazy. That was probably part of the point. Especially since they're at least alluding to everything about this is televised, that it's never really confirmed who is seeing what, and it's probably heavily edited by the corporation. But yeah, I think everything about this is supposed to be 1,000% staged.
All right, that actually kind of makes sense. I like the idea they hand selected him, figuring he would go crazy just to kind of distract and possibly take out some of the problem of the crew on board.
Yeah, and given that there's this unsettling level of technology, which we'll get into, that apparently is entirely human. Lord only knows what they did to him while he slept in transit. So he may have been primed the entire trip to lose his shit the minute he woke up.
It felt like it was something that was done strictly to fool the audience.
Yeah.
It's dispatched almost as quickly as it arises as far as a problem goes.
Yeah, and that was what was very odd. And again, I'm trying to give it an inkling of credit since it kind of felt like a red herring. So the fact that it came up and was gone as quickly as it was kind of fills that, if that's indeed the intention. Otherwise, it's just bad writing.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, I think it was definitely supposed to send us down the wrong path.
Right.
Absolutely. And when I say it's dispatched quickly, I mean so quickly that it takes you a minute, like, what happened? Okay. He's got a gun. That guy did it. It's not terribly well shot. It's just there's people yelling, something going on. You hear a noise, and the guy's on the ground. Like, huh?
Well, yeah, it was like summing up Event Horizon in 30 seconds. I mean, but the only reason I give it any credence is he was kind of deranged as soon as he woke up. Like, he was twitchy and doing weird stuff even before they hear Deus, and then he loses his mind and starts carving himself up and other people.
Yeah. Just very, very bizarre. So yes, I don't know if it was, as you said, strictly bad writing, or if it was just there to trick us into thinking there was something more going on than a corporate rich guy playing God. I'm trying to think of things to actually say about this movie. It's a bland film. It
really is. The only thing going for it, it's kind of timely, because what's inherently wrong in this, purposely wrong with this, this is some ultra rich guy's wet dream of how to handle a problem. It's clearly the entire thing front to back, when you finally get the full effect of what has happened in this film, this is somebody self-aggrandizing with his own sense of how to solve a legitimate problem, but it's entirely for his own self-fulfillment. I mean, ultimately, this calls for murdering billions of people. That's what he is. The antagonist in this film has set in motion, and and this is where I alluded to the technology. If he was capable of setting all of this technology up on the grand level that he did to have this grand display, you could have probably solved our problems in a way different way.
Exactly. He could somehow send his super fast propagating matter material to the orbit of Mars without letting anybody know.
To build an entire moon.
Yeah, make a moon-sized sphere that then sprouts a tower, which inside this tower is a singularity.
Yeah.
He can do that, but you can't make the rest of the world habitable?
Well, and they alluded to the dramatically overpopulated Earth. Now, honestly, I know we're, around 7 billion people now globally. And this one put it more in the, 24...
I think it was over 20 billion.
Yeah, well, over 20 billion, which...
And I think they said that only 30% of the Earth is habitable, so those 20 billion people are crammed into a very small section of the planet.
Yeah, so we've clearly destroyed the planet with just our physical presence. We have become a disease. Not that we aren't now. But again, you were capable of creating this technology that essentially has limitless energy and limitless construction capability, and you're parked right next to Mars. At that level, you could just completely terraform Mars and repair Earth.
Why Mars? Honestly, if this was his goal, you could have easily have done this on the moon or anywhere in orbit of Earth. I mean, almost anywhere other than somewhere that it's going to take these particular astronauts with the technology that they give them in this universe, 8 months to get there.
At the level of technology that they just proposed in this film, they could build a damn Dyson sphere.
Yeah, exactly. They build a Dyson sphere, or even just space stations, habitable space stations.
Absolutely.
With the big domes, make it like Silent Running, where you got spaceships with gardens and food.
And that's why I make the Thanos analogy. Thanos felt the solution to the universe's problem was to halve the population of the universe. Well, if you have the same ability to snap your fingers to do that, couldn't you double the resources too? so I'm just saying, you can justify your attitude and your what you're trying to do as a good thing, but clearly you were capable of going in a different direction, and you legitimately chose not to.
Right. So, in saying that, I mean, honestly, the entire plot of the film, none of it truly works. You only have to scratch the surface a little bit, and all the flaws are completely visible.
Yeah, and then you take those flaws and then you put it against the dialogue and cast, and I really like Claudia Black. I don't know what she was doing in this thing. She didn't have much to do, and everything that she did do is a radical jump to conclusion instantly. Like, right out of the gate, she wakes up, she hears, oh, we got no information about the sphere. Well, that can't be possible, so this is all a total waste of time. And like, you're the lead scientist on this mission, aren't you?
I'm not sure what her role was.
And that was the other
honest.
part in this, is it was unclear what anybody's job was.
I mean, I called her flight officer, but maybe she was communications. She seemed to be able to figure out and translate the Deus signal and figure that out pretty quickly. So maybe she's science, maybe she's communication. I don't know. I don't know anybody's role in this other than he's the captain because he's in the center chair.
Right.
And he's the security guy because he's just really big and doesn't talk a lot.
Right. Yeah, none of their roles made any sense, and none of how they got to the decisions. Like, everyone was very, very one-dimensional, and then you take this very convoluted concept of to set this thing. Oh, the other analogy I was going to make is this very much a Watchmen style solution. The Ozymandias thing, putting this insanely complicated plan into place to save humanity. That's exactly what this guy is doing. And I'm like, was that the only way to do this? And why? Like, when we're told that Claudia Black's character, that this guy has basically murdered her family to set this plan in motion. Mm-hmm. Like, this is exhausting.
Yeah, why couldn't that have just been a coincidence?
Right. Or
that just makes him, it takes somebody who is doing something very drastic and many would deem as evil, but you take someone who is thinking he has some sort of moral, he has some sort of point.
Yeah.
He has something, he's trying to make things better for whoever survives. But I still feel, even with that, with his mindset on that, it's crossing a line a little bit to murder someone's family just so you get the opportunity to put a chip in her head.
Billions.
No, just talking about her.
Yeah.
I mean, I know this is weird, but yes, the idea is he's trying to convince people that these spheres are sent by God, and if you walk in, you go to heaven. And that's going to decrease the population, and what's left will be better. Like, okay, I see, like you said, the Thanos, he thinks he's right.
Right.
So that to him isn't evil. I'm thinking, even with that mindset, I'm going to orchestrate an accident to kill this woman's mom and daughter just so I can have the opportunity to have her in the hospital because of the accident to put a chip in her head. I'm having a hard time with that. Yeah. That to me is like, nope, I'm really evil. I'm doing this because I'm evil. Not because I think I'm doing it for the betterment of mankind. No, I'm doing this because I'm evil.
And that's where I get, and I don't even know that billionaire in this guy's world is even the correct terminology. He would have to have money off a scale that is not even conceivable at this point. But yeah, at this point, it's why I call it his wet dream. He wants to murder people. He thinks that that's the cool way to do it, and he thinks he's justified in doing it because of the circumstances the globe is in. But I'm the guy that has the ability to do this, and I think this is the way that I want to do it because I like it.
Yeah, there's so much problem with this plan. Like we were saying, the amount of resources that he would have to invest in the construction of the sphere and the towers and everything that goes along with them. The ship, the Achilles, that's a massive, billions of dollars worth of spacecraft.
Yeah.
All these resources, I feel like people on Earth would take issue with if this is what your government is spending its money on.
Right. And you think with 20 plus billion people on the planet, somebody might say something.
You would think. I mentioned the Achilles, and that just kind of leads me to segue into one of the things that I like about the film.
Yeah.
Is the actual production design of the film. Mm-hmm. I think the Achilles looks fantastic. It's a really great, what we would say, a deep space, exploratory vessel.
Yeah.
Even the idea, even the sphere and the tower, I think is visually interesting.
Yeah.
And the effects are pretty good for what was probably a fairly low budget independent film. I think the effects are really well done.
But it's clear they're trying to hide a little because it's a dark film. Yes, we are in space, but we aren't lighting things very well.
No. I do have a problem where I do like the look of the Achilles. I have a problem with the layout of the Achilles. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure why you put your cryogenics bay in apparently the drive section.
Right.
And not the command center.
Yeah, why isn't
at the front of the ship?
Yeah, you would think from the perspective of safety and possible needing to build in fail safes for potential issues, you'd put that somewhere else.
As we discover in the film, if the command module needs to be used as a lifeboat, it might be nice if you could sleep for 8 months instead of living by yourself for 7 years.
Right. Yeah, I'm afraid the only really fun moment is the very last thing, which then leads into a letdown kind of ending, because she's saving the day, and to what end? Because we get this very ambiguous, at no point do we actually see any of the issues on Earth. We don't really have a sense of how bad it is. We're just told. We're given this despicable, diabolical plan that gets thwarted, and nothing will come of it for at least another 7 years, and roll credits.
I'm not sure if it's even all that thwarted, because Vance's, that's the trillionaire, whatever he is.
Great name.
Yeah. His plan was to have the sphere head to Earth, and then before it gets there, it would explode in a fake military venture from the Earth. But I'm not sure what the point, because the towers are already on Earth.
Right.
And people are already using them. So does the sphere need to exist in order for those towers to work?
Yeah, that's where. Well, and actually, you make a valid point here, because if the ultimate goal was to destroy the sphere, or at least make it appear to have been destroyed by the time it reaches Earth, whenever the heck that was going to actually happen, too, her destroying it, he can spin that. I mean, I assume their feed is cut off, that he's not broadcasting everything that just happened at this stage. So he's still in control of the narrative. So that's what I'm saying is, like, we don't get any catharsis out of this. Nothing has really been resolved.
And what's to stop him from destroying the Achilles when it gets back to Earth, or before it gets back to Earth?
Yeah, and I assume if he had the money and the technology to make this insanely powerful sphere in the orbit of Mars, I'm pretty sure he can come up with something else before she gets home.
Yeah, I'm really surprised there isn't a little button on his desk that says "Destroy Achilles."
Yeah. But yeah, no, so many holes in this thing.
It's really disappointing. For something that kind of looks as good as it does.
Yeah.
To have a story that's just this shallow, it's really disappointing.
Right, when it's at least on. It's supposed to have a deeper, thought-provoking concept, and just bad.
Yeah. We didn't get much in the way of social media responses. I can't imagine all that many people saw this film, including Cameron, who did comment that because Claudia always appears unexpectedly in various projects. Saw her previous movie, Time Now, and that was a dull dud of a project. But this sounds intriguing with all right effects. So he hasn't even seen it yet, but he was thinking about checking it out. If you listen to this, Cameron, before you watch the film, you might want to just hold off and go watch Farscape again.
Yeah. Pitch Black was an okay watch by comparison if you need a Claudia Black fix.
Yeah, definitely. I'd actually like to go back and watch Pitch Black again, because I haven't seen that in probably not since it came out to like VHS or something.
Wow, yeah. That's been a minute.
Yeah. Were you able to find any kind of reviews or anything on this film?
Nothing on the professional side of stuff, and if you use something like IMDb to scroll through user stuff, the general sentiment is ick. There's not a lot going on. There's and people are a little all over the map. One of my favorite ones was they felt like this was an extended Doctor Who episode.
I kind of see that. Yeah, if you're definitely talking about the more newer Doctor Who, post 2005 or so Doctor Who. Yeah.
Then you get nice taglines like "What a boring movie," or huge plot holes. I like to think of it more as the colander of films. But yeah, no, they're all over the map, and none of them cover any territory that we haven't already covered, which is basically, yes, lots of people think the production value looked pretty decent. Yes, there's even some talk that it's intriguing as a concept, but most people go, it's just kind of a snooze fest and really poorly put together.
Like I said, I do think there is some bits of this film that you could call intriguing. I mean, it is a good the entire plot, the idea of, okay, if we sacrifice millions in order to save billions. Mm-hmm. That's a mind exercise that's used all the time, and that's what this film relies on. And it's a morality question, I suppose. And so I think that is intriguing. It's just this film fails to really explore it. It brings it up, but it doesn't do much with it.
Well, and then there's the whole God versus science aspect, but I mean, they undermine their own argument almost immediately, and by the time you get to the end, and everybody is just laying it all out there, this is what happened, and the bad guy even agrees. Yep, nope, I did all that. That's what this is for, and I'm getting away with it. And like,
yeah, I would have gotten away with it too if it wasn't for you and your meddling dog.
Yeah, but in this case, he's getting away with it. Nothing. Like I said, nothing has been resolved at the end of this film.
It's the worst Scooby-Doo episode ever.
And I didn't even get a single Jinkies.
Well, that's because the only guy that would have probably said Jinkies is the one that went nuts and got killed.
Yeah, no, there were bad characters, bad plot, bad everything, but the ship looked cool.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yep.
That is a Deus in a nutshell. Well, next time we're going to take a look at a film that's just kind of been intriguing me since I found it on the list. It's from 2021. It's called Settlers. From IMDb, it says, mankind's earliest settlers on the Martian frontier do what they must to survive the cosmic elements and each other. This one stars Sophia Boutella, which we just talked about before we started recording, as she was the main villain in The Kingsman.
Yep.
As well as she's appeared in many other things since and before. So I don't know. I kind of want something that's hopefully leaning into the more of the thought-provoking, or maybe that's what we were trying to get with this last film.
Yeah, we were at least hoping, but I went in at least with a cynical edge that I was getting a sci-fi TV movie of the week.
Right. So I don't know. Maybe this one will be a little bit more grounded, and it might be one of these films where it's a good story, but it doesn't have to be on Mars.
Perhaps, but any good sci-fi usually puts you somewhere so it can take you outside of the conversation it's really trying to have. So, trying to make it more approachable. So, we'll.
Yep. Yeah. So absolutely. So go check out Settlers, or if you have seen it, let us know. That's going to do it. Thank you for listening to the Time Shifters podcast. We'd love to hear your thoughts on this episode, whether it's feedback, questions, or just something you want to share. You can reach out via email or drop a comment on any of our social media posts. Just follow the link in the show notes or head to timeshifterspodcast.com.
If you've got a moment, please consider leaving a rating or review. It really helps more people discover the show, and who knows, they might become listeners too.
If you're feeling a little generous, you can toss a little support our way monetarily. You can go to ko-fi.com/TSPOE podcasts, and every bit of that goes towards the web hosting and production costs. The show will always be free, but any help that you can give us is truly appreciated.
And if you like stuff, things, items, trinkets, check out our merch at TeePublic or Dashery. Links are in the show notes and on our site. You'll help us out and support some awesome independent artists at the same time.
That's going to do it for this episode. Thanks again, everybody. We'll talk to you next time. Bye.
See ya.